So my gem of the week, I would like to give you all a stock. It is still related within the crypto space, and that is Coinbase. So for any of you that have been in this space for a while, you will have known that last cycle, and we'll remove all of these indicators because it makes it look more confusing than it needs to be.
Why am I there twice? Do you want to move my Riverside version of me?
Oh, sorry.
Chuck him out of the way.
Better.
Yeah.
So this was Coinbase, IPO'd last cycle, basically in the peak of markets, effectively before we had the bear market, and which is why we had this huge sell-off. From peak, we did drop pretty much like a meme coin, 92%, from around $432 to 31. Since then, obviously, we formed the time which was this lovely head and shoulders bottom. Sorry, that's not the right shoulder I'm looking for. As you know, that is. Yeah. And we had our breakout, which was this move here. Then this here was actually a cup and handle. So that breakout and the target for that cup and handle actually, I believe, still hasn't been met. As you can see, we're still just shy. Target for that is around 415. At the moment, we've peaked out around 350. But in the shorter term, who cares about what's happened in the past? We have this at play. So on the monthly, there's a potential wedge forming with this upper sloping resistance line here. Obviously tags into the lows that we've recently had in April, also tags the lows back in Feb 24 and Jan 24. And then the upper boundary, we have this down sloping resistance line, which starts from around December, obviously tags February, Jan, and May of this year. So if you zoom in onto the weekly, what you may also see is, I've already kind of drawn it out, is this head and shoulders pattern. So we have our left shoulder forming here, nice big rounded head, and if we come back down to this yellow box, where I believe we will, and you'll see why in a minute, we will form that right shoulder. That head and shoulders target sticks us at 530. So from current price to that target is around 114%. And if you can pick it up in this box around 220, it's about 140%. Now, again, because it's a stock, and if you're in the UK, that can all be 100% tax-free gains through your stocks and shares ISA. Not financial advice, but something I would personally be looking at. And I do own a lot of Coinbase. You can also see from this peak bottom here, like some people might be saying, oh, we've had a higher low like this. In the grand scheme of things, on the monthly, we still are in a process of, there was our bear market low, and we're in a series of higher lows and higher highs, and have continued to do so effectively. These lows here, I mean, there's an argument to say this is a double bottom as well. The neckline for that would be here, and that target, I believe, puts us around a 700 area. But the trend is still our friend. The trend has not broken. If we were to lose this 150 area, that's where I'd be bricking it. So that's the area to probably watch. But in that recent low we had, you can see we had another head and shoulders here. There's our smaller head, smaller left shoulder, smaller right shoulder, smaller head, and that target still hasn't been met because that's shorter targets around 315. And you can see here at the moment we've been rejected in this red box, which is an area of resistance. And I believe we'll be going to this yellow box. And if you've watched me before, you'll know why. It's because there's a gap within the market, i.e. within the stocks world. If there's positive news overnight or whatever, people in the after hours trading or whatever they call it, I can't remember the name. Basically, the stocks can pump. And obviously here was one of those days. Coinbase opened up quite big, started at 232 and had a nice move, which is why we have this gap in the market. So, and I've learned in my years of looking at this stuff that gaps historically are a great area to have some limit orders. They kind of act as a magnet at some point in time. I believe it's like 70 or 80% of gaps actually get filled within stocks, not all of them, but it's worth having limit orders in there, just in and around the area. I normally have them in like the top to third, lower third of the box, just because sometimes there is an instance where it leaves that tiny little bit, and you know full well that tiny little bit is where your limit order is. It doesn't get filled, and it's very irritating. So I can tell you now, it's much better to get your order filled slightly higher up than to be pinpoint accurate and get it at say we were going for 215 and it only actually hit 220. I'd be fuming, quite frankly. So that's that.